everyone, I'm Karen Conrad and thank you for joining me today on Sweet Tea Hospitality. In today's episode, we're making some big decisions on the layout and the scope of the renovation. And we've got some surprising discoveries along the way. You won't want to miss it. Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality. On today's episode, we're going to inspire you to reimagine your floor plan. I'm in our Southlake, Texas home, and as you can see behind me, this is a nice, open, welcoming space. But that was not the case with the property that we purchased that we are renovating in this series of episodes. You know, when someone comes into your house, they want to feel welcome. And in this situation, they were met with doors and walls as soon as they walked in the door. It didn't feel very good. So our challenge was to really think through the scope and how to reimagine the floor plan and make it more hospitable, friendly, and up to date. So I'm going to be taking you step by step through the reimagining process on this project. Do you know, I spent hours walking through the house, talking to our general contractor, weighing our options, getting bids on the cost, and seeking God's wisdom on how to pull out the purpose of this house so that people, when they walked in, felt loved, comfortable, and embraced by God's love. In today's episode, we're finalizing decisions on the layout of the coastal cottage. This is a really, really important decision because we're talking about tearing out walls here. And I don't want to do too much, but yet I want to do enough that it really opens it up. And this is too where we have to decide what we're going to do with that toilet that's like in the middle of a doorway that we totally just didn't catch, I guess, when we bought it. But I think we'll find a solution as to what we can do to handle that. We've stepped into the foyer of this home, and as you can see, we have wasted no time in getting started on the demo of this property. So Dave and Levi were excited for demo day, and they sure got to have a demo day yesterday and today. When we bought this house, we realized that there was some character with this house that was going to be beautiful, but it was so closed up. And I can't tell you how many doors were throughout this house, just kind of closing off different rooms. Also the faux painting and then the brick on the floor. When you walked into the property, it just kind of closed you in and it looked dated immediately. So as you can see behind me, we've got a beautiful fireplace and family room. But you couldn't see it with the walls as they were. They were all sheetrocked where you now see the studs. So the first thing we knew we had to do is figure out how to open up this whole entire space. So we have done the demo on the wall between the living room and the family room and kitchen. And what we need to do is just figure out what we can do here. I'm not sure if we're able to do a beam all the way across or if we're going to have to maybe do some cutouts or openings or even some columns. But what we're hoping for is that we can do a beam up in the attic all the way across and just make this one really beautiful open space. So So we're standing right now in really the entrance of the property, which was really where those walls were, and we wanted to give it an open look, but we had to determine how much we were going to do and how we were going to open it up. So the first thing I thought is like, hey, let's remove all these walls and just open everything up. But unfortunately, what it would have taken to have to do a metal beam from spanning from this side of the house all the way over was cost prohibitive.
Totally. I think in what we ended up doing, we were able to get 80% of the openness for 20% of the price.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so what we did is we kept the doorway in the entryway and just removed the actual door. And the other thing is we had electrical that was moving up and down these walls. Now the good news was they were isolated, and we kept those flowing in the pillars that we left in place. And Levi, really looking at it, I feel that this look to me is almost better than if we would have pulled everything out and spent the money to move all that. I don't think we would have brought the value.
Especially because we have 3 different living areas essentially within the same, like within the line of sight. Well, 4 if you count the entryway. So the pillars give a little bit of definition to where, you know, you have sort of defined rooms, but yet you can see everything at one time.
Well, welcome to my Sweet Tea Design Workshop. This is in my home in South Lake, Texas, and this is like where a lot of the real work starts to happen. When we look at reimagining the floor plan, I hope you're inspired to maybe reimagine the floor plan in your house. I know sometimes removing walls and things seems like it's too much, but I think what you're going to learn in this is that you can make big changes with the floor plan without huge expense, and it can make all the difference in your home. I know some of the properties that I've even gone in and worked with homeowners, they just couldn't see the possibilities in their existing property, in their home, and they thought that they had to sell their house to find the home they wanted. And in many cases, it's just taking this process that we went through and looking at the possibilities, and you may not have to move, but instead create that space in your existing home that you dreamed about. So we had plenty of problems that we had to solve with reimagining this floor plan. The first one was when you walked into the house, you just felt closed in. It was this small little entryway that had one door to the front, one door to the left, and I kind of had a glimpse into the other room, but it was far from welcoming. So how were we going to solve this? Well, we made the decision to open up the walls that were between the entryway into the kitchen and the family room. Now, we considered completely removing the wall, but it was a wall that carried some weight, and so it would have been extremely expensive, and we would have had to get a permit to put a header across that span. Another issue that we ran into is that the family room and the kitchen area had wood beams. The formal dining and living room area didn't. So were we going to add beams? How are we going to solve this? What we ended up doing is just cutting out large spaces in those rooms. And we left the studs in the areas that the electrical was running through. It saved us a lot of money, but it also kept it quite cozy. Sometimes houses can become too open. This kept the room separation. We understood what the purpose of each room was, but I still was able to see into the other spaces and have conversations. And it solved the beam problem. I had a soffit go down from the ceiling on purpose so that it would transition from wood beams to no wood beams. We also had the formal living and dining room spaces that were looking like a tunnel. They were very long and narrow. I had to put my thinking cap on with this one and ask the Lord to help me. What is this space supposed to be? What I ended up doing is creating a formal living space where the previous former dining space was, and then close to the entry, making that space the formal dining room. Why did I do that? Well, one of the reasons was that the dinette with the wall now open would have been right next to the dining room. I just think that's awkward to have two eating tables next to each other. I wanted to break it up. And then also, if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I want to be able to see and talk to people. So in that seating area, that formal living area, people can converse from the kitchen, and it just creates a nice atmosphere, you know, so as families, we can continue to enjoy that time of cooking and eating and catching up at the end of the day. Also, I made a bold decision with the family living room. Initially, I was going towards, okay, we'll do a love seat and chairs. And when I started to think about how this room would actually be used, I chose to get 4 chairs and arrange it in a conversation area. I also got an electric fireplace that provided an anchor for that space and added a lot of value to it. When you've got a big long room like that, you have to break up the walls. You also have to create some interest, and the fireplace solved all of that. And then with the formal dining room, I love the idea of coming into the property and seeing a beautiful dining room, and that light fixture was extremely important. I found a light fixture on Amazon that had crystals, it had some gold in it, some black, and it just looked like $1,000,000. Now the master bedroom and bathroom, of course, were dingy. We made the decision to switch those rooms, so that was a significant change. As I was walking through the house and just thinking about how I would personally live in this property, I realized there was no mudroom. Oh my goodness. So when the kids came in, they had nowhere to put their coats, their boots, and their shoes. So how did we solve this problem? I created a space in the garage right by the door where we had a custom-made bench and cubbies to make a mudroom in the garage. What I didn't expect is that the patio door was put in backwards in the house. My goodness, I don't know how somebody could do that, but this is where we started to realize that, I think we're gonna have to address this patio door and the windows. The front door was really dark. I wanted to be able to save that front door, but at the end of the day, it just didn't work. It had layers of paint on it. It didn't look nice, and I wanted to do something to open up the light into that entryway. We found an amazing patio door that fit the dimensions of that front door, and we put that in the front door for under $500 at a surplus store. This solved so many issues. It lightened up the entryway, it gave it character, and it gave it elegance. So if you've got a dark entryway, consider this as an option. Maybe you don't need to pay for an expensive front door, but look at the option of a patio door and consider something that brings light into your entryway. The shower in the bathroom that's in the back of the house near the kitchen was very, very short. I did not want to have to replace anything in that bathroom, but as I looked at it closer, I realized that if there was somebody that was over 6 foot tall, they wouldn't even be able to stand up straight in that shower. So we made the difficult decision to pitch away all the tile that was on the walls and in the shower, have it reframed to raise that ceiling and put a light in there. And it made all the difference. It turned from a shower that I would never want to step into to a beautiful shower that looks light and bright. The kitchen was a very awkward space. This was a tough decision. What do we do with this kitchen? As many of you know, if you've been looking at maybe updating your kitchen in your house, new cabinets, pulling out old cabinets, new countertops, it can add up really, really quickly. Matter of fact, most remodels in a kitchen can range from $25,000 on up. I wanted to find a way to work with the current layout of the kitchen, and we found a great solution. We decided to keep the cabinets and paint those, and I kept everything in place, but I had a custom island built that provided more counter space, and it fit the space of the kitchen. A regular island wouldn't have worked in there. So do you have a kitchen where it's like too far from maybe your countertop over to the refrigerator, but not enough space to put a traditional island in? Consider this. We put this in, it's 15 to 16 inches wide. It functions really well. And I'll tell you what, it made all the difference in that kitchen. So the final problem is, how do we make all these changes work and look on purpose? Well, that's where the design elements come in. That's where the consistency, the plan of the color scheme, and making sure that when we walk through the house, we realized how it all tied together for the future homeowner. I spent hours walking through this house. I had some big decisions that I had to make. We are talking about moving walls here. We are talking about moving rooms. And I just know that God is the one that knows the answer. And while this was an architectural project, how much more can we see God in our homes, about our families, our next steps, what to do for holidays, maybe something that our children are going through. And God wants to provide for us all the wisdom and the knowledge that we need, and how to create that home of peace, how to bless the people that are coming over to our homes for a holiday or for a ministry event. So God gave Solomon some architectural wisdom that we can apply again by hearing his voice. And this really makes sense for moving walls, for the practical parts of the home, but also for the hearts that are touched in our homes. And we inquire of the Lord. Sometimes we need to inquire with outside resources that have the knowledge in different areas. And we apply those in a creative way. Listen to this. This is Proverbs 24, 3 and 4, and I'm going to read it from the ESV. It says, "By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches." Isn't that beautiful? I want my home to be a pleasant riches for the people that enter it. I want it to be that place that people walk into and they feel the presence and peace of God. Now, architectural wisdom is like a 30,000 foot view, right? We want to know what things look like, which is what I was trying to accomplish in the big picture in deciding what we are going to do with the floor plan. So God often gives us the big picture, and then it involves others to actually get the details, the knowledge, and the plan. What's the result? You're creating memories. You're creating a peaceful setting, the precious things of our homes, which are the hearts. The two major areas of cost in this reimagining the floor plan were opening the walls, and that was $2,300. That to me is money very well spent. And as a homeowner, you need to think about what is going to be the benefit of this to my family. How's it going to improve how the house feels? And when people walk in, are they going to feel like they're being welcomed? And are they going to feel comfortable in the property? And with a house that has got walls going across and blocking the view of the rest of the house, I will tell you, this has a significant impact on how the house feels and also the value of the home if you do decide at some point to sell it. The next big decision and the big expense was new windows. $10,200 replaced every window in the house. Again, as a homeowner, that's a significant investment. But you know what? I could see out the windows. It looked clean. It just gave a feeling of the house letting the beautiful light in that really changed everything. And that's one of the things as a homeowner we need to consider. How is this going to improve our quality of life? And both of these expenses made a significant difference in what I feel are the quality and the feel of this home. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has inspired you to reimagine the floor plan in your home. And you know, I'd love to hear from you. How do you think we did? Do you have any ideas that you think we missed or things that you would have done different? Please connect with me at KarenConrad.net. I want to hear from you on this program. So it's what? The wisdom, it's how we get the input. It's the why. Each room has a unique purpose and vibe that brought us to the point of opening up the walls, moving the master bedroom suite, and more. Lighting and messaging in each room creates that precious riches, the atmosphere of peace and pleasantness of a godly home where you want to linger. Thank you again for joining me on Sweet Tea Hospitality. My name is Karen Conrad.